honestly feel like Kobe. I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me. I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili. From young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's the reach. We ready? Who ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the One-on-One Sports Show. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner here, Brother Dante. Shout out to Tommy B in the chat tonight. Waiting for the other brothers to show up tonight, but good to be with you guys on yet another Wednesday show. Lots of good stuff going on, as you can see, with the playoffs going on, and so just a very exciting time. This time of sports. But what's going on, Dante? How you been?
Man, I've been good, man. It's been a good week for me, man. How about you?
It's been good. It's been good. Obviously my Celtics are, in the finals again, but I have mild. I've tempered my excitement just a tad, which just apparently got me into a lot of trouble with Celtics Nation. So yeah, I may touch on that a little bit, but yes, indeed, rest in peace to Bill Walton, who again won a championship with Celtics in 1986, as well as one with the Portland Trail Blazers back in '77, and certainly a very colorful figure in basketball. And so shout out to his family and whatnot. And I believe he was only like 71, so he wasn't terribly old. But a lot of times you have some of the larger folks, they don't be living into their 90s a lot of times when you're tall or heavy like that. But definitely a life well lived, and had a lot of experiences there. So rest in peace to Bill Walton. But in any event, so again, very excited about this playoff season. So what you got for us to what you want to lead off with, sir?
Man, I really want to lead off with your team, just because it's I want to focus on this. So you said you have tempered expectation. We had a conversation in the chat just about playoffs and how you should look at your team and analyze it. And I will give Mr. Bennett his props as a, like he said, Celtics fan. He was critiquing the team, happy that they're there, but still knows, hey, if you want to win it all, which I don't, you've seen a bunch of banners go up. Hey, it takes certain things. It's the little things. It's about, mindset that happens. And I will say this, they went against an opponent that was inferior. They went up against an opponent that ended up having an injury, and they took advantage.
All right, let me leave from there. This has been one of the easiest tracks to the NBA Finals that a team has ever had. Yes, I said, yes, I am. You see this jersey? That's 33. That's Larry Bird. I've been a Celtics fan since 1981. I've been a Celtics fan longer than most of you guys have been alive. So I got a lot of heat from these Johnny-come-lately Celtic fans still in their diapers who don't understand the history of the Celtics, couldn't even name you some of the great legendary Celtics from that 81 team. So I put out there an honest critique. We had an easy path to the finals, one of the easiest in history. Started off with the Miami Heat, who didn't have Jimmy Butler, a.k.a. Jimmy Buckets, who always has given us a problem in the playoffs. So we got through that round. Then against the Cavs, they didn't have Mitchell for the last two games in that series. Then we played the Pacers, who beat a team that they shouldn't have. The Knicks should have won that series, but the injuries caught up to them. You figure my man for the Knicks, he was injured in Game 7. He only played like 15 minutes in the game. So you beat a compromised Knicks team to get there, and then you lose one of your best players in Halliburton to get to the that obviously hurt your chances of winning there. So again, it couldn't have got any easier for the Celtics. The Celtics really didn't have a major challenge. They won all but one game in this one. They didn't look dominant to me. They were down pretty much in every game. Give them credit for coming out at the end. But again, these teams didn't have what they needed, their closer. And all I heard from these Celtics fans was, "Oh, well, we didn't have Kristaps Porzingis." Porzingis is a role player at this point in his career. He's not a star. He's not a star player. He's your third or possibly your fourth option on that team between Holiday, Brown, and Tatum. All All right, so he's your fourth option. All right, but these guys are saying, "Oh, well, you had injuries too." No, you didn't. You didn't lose your superstar. If you would have lost Brown or lost Tatum, then come talk to me. But you didn't. So look, I'm glad to be there. All right, but I recognize what we went through, which wasn't much, in order to get there. We didn't go against Kyrie and Luka. We didn't go against the best players that were available at the time. So again, an easy path to the finals. So the only question now is Tatum going to show up? Brown, you're making over $300 million. Are you going to show up, and are you going to close the show? Are you going to finish? Because the Warriors, shout out to Tommy B, the Warriors did humble us last time, right? Tatum came up very small, and so now it's makeup or, this is the time. Y'all been to either to the conference finals or the NBA finals the last 5 years consecutively, and with 0 championship rings to show for it. So it's time to put up or shut up, all right? So yes, I am a Celtic fan, obviously, but I can look at my team honestly and understand that this is make or break for a lot of people. And shout out to the Coach Mazzulla for getting the guys there to it. But this is for Tatum, your legacy is going to be compromised here if you don't cash this in. And if you're going to be playing Dallas, which seems likely, Timberwolves, we'll get into that series in a minute. Will manage to hang in there, but Kyrie is a killer. He's a closer. We've seen him do this when his mind is in the right space, which it seems to be in now. Playing with Luka, then they're dangerous out. All right, so don't take for granted. So again, this will be the toughest team that you played in this playoff run by a mile, and so you guys better be ready for what Dallas is going to be bringing down during this final run. So again, that's my honest critique, and I got lambasted by all these Celtic fans, who remind me of the what's those Bill Schwartzky Bears fans from back in the day from those SNL kids. They don't want to hear nothing about positive things about the Celtics or whatever. But look, I grew up Celtic. All right, I'm born Celtic. So y'all can't tell me nothing. And again, I grew up in an era. Do you know how Dante? The flack that I got for being from the Northeast in Jersey, being a Boston Celtic fan in the 80s when it was the Showtime Lakers and the Knicks and all these teams, how so many times they wanted to take away my black card because my favorite player was Larry Bird. So I had to endure all of that. So y'all ain't got nothing for me. If I can live through those days, you're not gonna do anything to me. You're not gonna do anything to me now. So y'all can miss me with all that, and look at the reality of was really going on. But you guys are just act like learn something about Celtic history before you come critiquing. So that's my rant. So I just had to get that off my chest. I was sharing some of the comments I was getting from the Facebook group with Shawnee and Dante. And so I was like, they would at me, bro. But hey, I got decades here, so.
Hey, I respect that. Like you say, hey man, they got to learn from the veteran old head fans and just see like hey, it's wisdom in this. I've seen you've seen a thing or two, and so like you said, that wound from 22 is fresh. We're going up against that. That's fresh. So it's one of those deals where, and like you said, I'm glad you touched on that about. When that whole rebuild started and all the picks and the swaps and everything that came and ended up turning up into, 2 all NBA players, MVP candidate and Tatum, all defensive team guys, everything they have from Marcus Smart. So it's just like it's been through a lot. It's time for a payoff for that.
Absolutely.
I completely understand you. And it's like they don't understand. Like there's not a lot of franchises that look at those banners. Like I was just looking at the clip of Kobe. He's like, hey, we don't hang this banner. We don't hang that banner. We hang championship banners. If we don't like it, so be it. But that's the standard is the standard. And I can say that those are two definite teams in the NBA that look at things that way. So I respect you for that. Obviously, they have to see things through a different lens. You can't always look at things through your team's, rose-colored glasses and everything to be a pom-pom. You're a fan, so you're going to be biased a little bit, but you got to at least say, hey, what are my realistic chances here?
Absolutely.
I respect you and hats off to you for that. That's basically all we need to hear about the series. salute to you, Mr. Bennett, for that, and just get that off your chest. I'm glad you did that. So I know Shawnee's coming here in a minute. He just messaged me. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the next series, and it's just kind of like I thought we were on the verge of two sweeps. I saw social media just rampant with the fixes in, and it's kind of one of those deals where it's
Mhm.
like, hey, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, hey, that's a team over there full of paid professionals, full of guys that have had to hear about you about to get sent home, the Cancun jokes, and all those things. So shout out to the Timberwolves. I did think, obviously, I picked them. I thought this was going to be a much more, I thought it was going to be more competitive in the wins. The games have been close, but the result, and when it comes to that as a result, I had a friend of mine that's been, oh, I'm tired of the broadcast that said these teams are so even. And why is one team up 3-0? And I was just like, I don't want to bring it up, but I was like, I can tell you about a series a year ago, same round,
Right.
where it was close, but the other team just was better. So
Yeah.
they were able to pull it off. The coaching was better. The players were better. And when those things happen on your side, you end up getting more. You just the brakes just fall your way when you're better and you're working hard and you're smart. So which to me, I'm glad for Jason Kidd because that's being here locally. He's gotten a lot of heat. He's gotten a lot of heat, and it was just kind of like at one point it was like, yeah, they're gonna let go of Kid at the end of the year, and then now this you making
Hmm.
a finals run, he already got the extension. So I'm happy for him as a
Right.
black head coach just making it. But it's just kind of like now it's like, hey, can you guys go ahead and get it done? We're ready to officially have it. A good sports city in Boston, great sports city in Dallas, and just have that finals matchup with Luca, who has, a lot of people feel he was snubbed for the MVP. I feel like it should have went to Shea Gildas Alexander. He's beaten Shea Gildas
Right.
Alexander. Now he's, going to beat
Yeah.
the Timberwolves, up and coming Anthony Edwards. And now it's like, hey, I'm in the finals. Going to be a favorite, on that side. I would say him and Tatum will be favorites to win the finals MVP. Kyrie will get some love for sure because he's so clutch. And, Jaylen Brown just because he's the second best player on the team. But I'm ready to focus on that and just break down those matchups. I want to hear more news about Porzingis because shout out to you. Appreciate you checking this out. I want to just the revenge factor, all the storylines. And I know it's
Hmm.
going to start on the 6th, so we got time to break all of that down. But I want to see if Porzingis is going to play. I want to see what he got. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
Yeah.
he's going to be
Because he wasn't due back until I guess they were talking about game 4 or 5 of the last series. So even if he comes back in, I don't know if he's going to be on restricted minutes. I don't know if he's going to be a full go. So you just don't know what you're getting. I mean, he's been for a good portion of his career. He's been kind of brittle. So I'm not relying on him. For him to be a major contributor in this series. So again, coming off the bench, splitting time at center, but again, a role player. At this point, until he gets healthy enough where he can be a full time contributor again. So again, my expectations for him are certainly going to be limited there.
Yeah, that's the story, and I want to say just being a player that has the talent
Hmm.
but can't stay healthy and not consistent. That leads you to the role player lane where he can do
Absolutely.
that, and he can be fine in that role. They're gonna need him in that role with the Mavericks with the two centers, the
Right.
two centers that they have. So that's really something to watch out for. But
Yeah.
I'll say this for the Mavericks, they just got to be careful. You are going on this team's home court, so there's going to be a sense of you're like everybody knows you. Nobody's ever come back in the NBA from down,
Not from a three.
down.
Yeah. Not from an 0-3. Yeah.
So can you at least just not lose at home? Can you at
Yeah.
least hey, you lose, don't lose in front of your home fans. They give you a send off, you win, hoping that you come back, knowing you likely won't. You know, so I would like to think that hey, that's how it's going to play out. But
Right. Right. And even if they win, it looks like it's going to be a close game because, again, none of these games obviously have been dominant. The games have been relatively close. They're not going to be blowing out like they did with Denver for a few games in that series. Now, if they come back and win by 20, then, we'll see, how Dallas responds in the next game. But it's like they got to find some kind of adjustment. I mean, but they barely won this game by the skin of their teeth. And so they're not showing me anything that they're ready for this level. But I wanted to tackle a question I think one of you guys asked earlier: is Kyrie owed an apology? I guess you were saying from Ant-Man or from the league, from us. Like what was the what was
it
the
was it was for the national media, namely Stephen A. Smith. Literally,
Okay.
all the commenters that kind of came in and didn't look at, like, obviously what Kyrie, we discussed it here. We discussed a lot of all the big topics when Kyrie had the thing with the Amazon video
Yep.
DVD
Yep.
extended. That compounded with the COVID situation, which when we look at it and you deep into it, if he was a New York Knick that longest maybe, well, Brooklyn is the new guys in town, and they didn't want to stretch anything for them,
Hmm.
and a lot of
Right.
the rules didn't make a lot of sense. And so for him to go somewhere else and like literally fans asking him, "Why didn't you play like that when he was here?" He's like, "Hey, ask Mayor Adams." And the thing is, and I still by this, hey, I know Kyrie can be. I call him sometimes a space cadet. His mind, like you said, Mr. Bennett said, hey, if he can focus him in, he's gonna ball out. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
interest, and a central guy, and so his mind may fluster. He's focused right now. He's really
Right.
focused on
Right.
winning
Right.
and being in a position. Hey, he's gonna miss games here and there for injuries. A guy that's been banged up, literally played only a few games in college. So that's followed him. But you got a guy in Luca to basically that's the number one. You come in and then they have great role players like that PJ Washington move, that Gafford trade. Those were really getting Grant Williams out of there, which is hilarious. That
Right.
he's gonna be watching the finals. It's two former teams, and it's just kind of like you could have been a part of at least the Mavericks, but just wasn't a good locker room fit. So, but like with Kyrie, it's like he did want to put something in his body, and you gotta respect a man's opinion, especially that I make
Right.
money from my body.
Right. But the only thing I would say about that is he owed an apology or not. I may lean more on the no side, not necessarily because of the issues. It was just a lot of stuff off the court. So you figure. Now keep in mind, I got some experience with Kyrie also because he came to Boston after Cleveland, and he was supposed to be the missing piece because we had Isaiah Thomas, who almost got us into the finals, very very close. We got the conference finals with Isaiah Thomas, and Kyrie was supposed to be the one to take us over, and that didn't happen when he was here. Then he goes to Brooklyn, and again, it doesn't materialize there. He barely plays. I mean, the relationship that he had with KD, they came in saying, "Yeah, we're gonna do this," and KD was feeling betrayed by his attitude on things, saying, "Look, we came in this to win this together, and you're not keeping your end of the bargain." So certainly from the Celtics and certainly from Brooklyn, he wasn't casted as being a good teammate. And at the end of the day, they didn't necessarily win. I mean, they almost, Brooklyn almost got to the finals if there was a toe on the line against Milwaukee where Kyrie wasn't there. They almost got to the finals without him. So I can't say he was a major contributor to Brooklyn during his time there. He definitely wasn't a contributor to the Celtics. They got worse. I don't think they got to a conference final when Kyrie was there. So I think a lot of what we're talking.
No, they made it. They made it. You guys hit the year he got hurt his first year there, and I thought that was his chance to really accelerate.
Right, but it didn't. We didn't go up from there. So I think with a lot of these issues, I think a lot of it is, as always, it always deals with your level of production. If you're a producer, you're off the court, your views or whatnot, a lot of that stuff can be forgiven. But the fact that he, been to those last two destinations, and keep in mind, Kyrie before LeBron got there, the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't do anything, and when LeBron left, they didn't do anything either. So again, up to that point, he never showed that he was worth the headache of giving him those graces that he would have got if he was with another situation. So I think a lot of that stuff was of his own doing. Teammates would have things to say about him. Could he be reliable? But he just so happens at this point in time he's in a good place with the Mavericks. Maybe because to give credit maybe to the owner. The owner, he's kind of like a he does. I don't know if he believes in all the conspiracy theories that Kyrie does. But he's kind of a player type of owner, and let guys be themselves and whatnot. He's stuck his foot in his mouth a few times on a few different occasions. Jason Kidd, obviously certainly a coach he respects, and again playing with a great player like Luka. So again, you put him in the right situation for him to be able to do what he does, just like he was in the right situation when LeBron was there when they went to the finals. So again, but he cannot carry a team though. You know what I mean? And you typically save that kind of, you give that kind of grace to guys who have the ability to carry a team. He's never shown to be that guy. So again, as long as he's in this situation, He's very again he's going to be very dangerous, and again he can close. And, absolutely the OKC series that last game he closed them out. So again, as long as he stays in his lane, he's good. But again, I think a lot of the criticism, again, whether you believed in his stance on COVID or the movie or whatever, again that's debatable. But certainly, it's interesting the fact he's in this winning situation. You don't hear, I mean, especially with the war going on, with the in Israel and all that kind of stuff. I've heard very little from. You figure if any time he's a Muslim also, so you figure at any time he would have been speaking, it would have been now. Haven't really heard much, and I don't know if that's just the media hasn't been paying attention as much, or he's been he's kind of modulated how he does things. But it's a very different situation that he's in now than he was in years prior, going all the way back to the Cleveland days when LeBron wasn't there.
Sonny, welcome
Yeah,
in, man.
I'm sure
What's
y'all
good,
talking
bro?
about what's up, y'all? I'm sure y'all talking about if Kyrie deserves an apology.
Yeah.
I got the idea when I sent it to you guys earlier today. I was watching First Take. I think I heard it somewhere else too, but they was bringing it up about Stephen A. was adamant about the critique he was giving him during his, especially during his Brooklyn years, and you know, then I heard like it's the narrative changing around Kyrie because the people owe him apology. Matter of fact, it was Perk. I heard Kendrick Perkins
hmm hmm
give him his apology. You know, and to me, do I feel like Kyrie to the people who was critical of Kyrie, what was that 3 years ago? Do I feel like do they need to apologize to him? It depends. Like, cause Stephen A. He basically kind of apologized to because he came off it seemed it came off as personal to him. He came off very like
Yeah.
he had a lot of vigor when he was in his criticism towards Kyrie, and I could kind of understand that. To me, it's like you're looking at it from like a if you play sports, you understand that a team mindset, how everybody has to come together because you come together for one goal, and a lot of people will make the necessary sacrifices to win, especially at the professional level. And with Kyrie, especially during his Brooklyn years, it always just seemed like something on the outside was more important than basketball because he went AWOL. He would just be gone for multiple days and he didn't inform the team. So and then even his that was one of the things that James Harden was one of the reasons why he wanted to trade out of there because he couldn't tell how serious Kyrie was taking and all that. And then when it comes to the Mavericks, winning cures everything.
Hmm.
He literally when he was traded over here because there wasn't I don't even think there was a big trade market for him out of Brooklyn. He
No.
had he basically tarnished his image, while he was in Brooklyn. And the Mavs, they was definitely looking for another ball handler to support Luca. So they was definitely in the market. So when he supported, got traded to Dallas, you immediately saw him because he has a huge amount. Him and Luca both have a huge amount of respect for the head coach Jason Kidd because he's a
Yeah.
former point guard.
Right.
And I heard that especially during these playoffs, when Jason Kidd he doesn't approach stuff when he sees stuff on the film as a coach to them. He approaches it as this is what I would do. So he basically approaches it as a point guard. So it really it helps them see a bigger picture of the game. So, he's basically winning. Locally, he is keeping his head down. He's just focusing on basketball. Um, but you never want to say you can't focus on stuff outside of basketball, but you just don't want to leave your team out there. Now, also, granted, during the time that a lot of people was criticizing Irving, it was during that whole pandemic era, man. There was a whole lot of stuff, man. When pandemic first started, that's when the George Floyd stuff happened. It kicked off around the same time, and then just other things. So it was like a perfect storm. But now that all that stuff kind of calmed down, and he's able to just play basketball, and many people, even the people who was critical of him during those days, it was never about his skill on the court. He'll never body slam. That's why many people was getting frustrated with him because they want to see him on the court, but he was doing
Yeah.
everything off the court that was taking him away from the court.
Mhm.
So, but so apologize if you apologize. I guess it depends on the angle
Right.
you came at him. If you was taking like personal attacks at him, um, no, if you was just like, hey man, play basketball, you made a commitment. I don't think
Right.
that warrants an apology.
But again, I go back to his contributions on the court because there's some criticism to be laid there also. Again, before LeBron got to Cleveland, he never won. Before LeBron got there, he didn't win after he left. Then he goes to Boston. Boston is worse. They go backwards. They regress while he's there. Then he goes to Brooklyn, and basically they're better when he's not there. Again, they almost went to the finals with him not playing. KD's foot was on the toe was on the line, or we would be talking a different story there also. So as far as, again, I agree with him. It's like you got to put him in a certain circumstance in order to get the best out of him. But he's not going to be a guy to carry a team. He's not going to be a captain of a team. He's not going to lead by example. He's going to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. And so, it just so happened that the stars aligned where he's in a good situation, as you said, with a good organization. Again, I think a sort of a renegade type of owner, which I think he can relate to. He's got a great head coach to relate to well, and he's playing with arguably the MVP of the league. So again, you can hide a lot of his, stuff that got him in trouble in the first place. You can sort of hide that when you put him in the right situation. But if he's going to be out in front, then that's going to be problematic for your organization.
And the biggest thing is, and they said that a lot locally. Hey, he went from, obviously he had the most success in Cleveland playing with LeBron, not the biggest media market, Boston and Brooklyn, two big media markets. Now he's in Dallas, where it's like, hey, big market, but the media is not going to grill you. The media is
Right.
absolutely not going to grill you.
Right.
And so it's one of those deals where it, like you said, it's the perfect circumstances. I just
Right.
was at my policy standpoint of like people just kind of like, yeah, never let the foolishness get in trouble of how good of a basketball player is. And I've always stood it on it. I've went back and forth, hey, is this superstars or not? Just because I remember the Cleveland days. I remember him, Waiters, and all that, the young talent, Tristan Thompson, the young talent. And it was just like, yeah, I don't really have a leader. And things that like were basketball wise were like down on him when LeBron got there. The time where it was he had the game with no assists, and LeBron had to be like, can't have a point guard with 0 assists. And it's kind of like,
Right.
and it's just critiques like that. And it's like, okay, and in the fact of, if you're going to do the whole, hey, let's pick the player, let's get guys together, they went the wrong way going after Harden. When you had a center in Jared Allen, who's been an all-star now, you had those potential in that there. Him and KD was enough, in my opinion. Maybe make a trade to get like some defense only guys, because now with the Mavericks, it's basically two offensive juggernauts, and then 3 and D guys around them, 3 and D guys off the bench, and that you could plug in and play. And I think that's the thing, rest of formula. So I agree with you. I felt like, hey, for the people that went overboard on it, which I understood some of them why, with people from the Jewish community were really upset. But
Right.
you have to take that and say it through the ends. It's like, hey, as a basketball player. So for the people that went overboard, hey, give them his credit. But to be honest, I think we all can agree. I'm glad it's just basketball now. Like I know
Right.
there's things I know
Absolutely.
we shout to the community in ways. I've seen them with a local hat from the team that won back-to-back state championships, South Oak Cliff. I seen him with the hats on. I was like, okay, so he's tapping in with the community like I figured he would. So, but everything has been quiet. So I'm good, even though as a far as like as a basketball fan, seeing him do his thing, I'm glad it's not oh man, here's Kyrie with something else. I'm glad it's that, and it's just hoops. And so I'm pleased to see it. Been a good product.
Right, right. And shout out to Marcus Antonio again. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yes, he did. They did go to the conference finals that year. They went to the conference finals the year before with Isaiah Thomas. Again, he was supposed to be the difference to take him over the top, and I believe he was injured in that round also. He didn't really contribute there. So again, in the right situation, he can be certainly the guy to help you close. But he can't be the one who brings all the ingredients to the table. He's not the table setter. So I think that Again, terrific player, but again, this is the perfect situation for him. If I was, I wouldn't leave Dallas. As long as they keep him around, I wouldn't leave there. Stay right where you're at, and keep on doing what you're doing. But yeah, brilliant player when you see him, especially in the fourth quarter. He can really turn it on, and he can take his game to another level. So I'm certainly not hating on him, but just looking at the breadth of his career, yeah, there's some question marks there that left a lot of people guessing.
What topics do y'all discuss already?
Well, I had to go through my rant, obviously, about the Celtics, and I'll reiterate again. Shout out to Trey Taylor, who's also in the chat. They had the easiest path to the finals, arguably in history. All right, they had the easiest path. You didn't face any major superstars pretty much in the entire series. All the teams that you went through, their key players got hurt. And so look, I can be honest about it, and admit that certainly Dallas, which is obviously highly likely that's going to be the pick that they're going to be going against. That's going to be a very difficult series because you're going to be going against the best. You're going to be going against arguably the best, the MVP and the closer in the league, which you didn't have to face in this championship run. So again, your level of competition is going to go up in magnitude, and you can say that Trey, but I'm just saying you didn't have Jimmy Butler. You barely had a couple games with Mitchell. Pacers really just didn't even deserve to be there, but the Knicks had too many injuries to overcome them, and then you lose Halliburton. So yeah, so I mean that it is what it is, but. But look.
Who was it? What's his name? Nimhart. He was scoring. He was putting buckets, but at the end of the game,
they didn't have a closer. They didn't have a closer.
Ball. He had the strip. Holiday stripped him. That lost him game 3. He took an ill-advised shot in game 4. I mentioned because, like we say, Indiana offense was showing up all 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
They offense showing up, but game 2, you definitely saw it instant because Siakam was taking over in the third quarter in game 2.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Halliburton got hurt, and you immediately seen Indiana they started, sliding as soon as he went off the court. But yeah, that whole thing was, Boston was always the favorite. They was always the favorite versus every team they played this playoffs. But you would think some teams, because teams probably would have been more challenged like Indiana gave them if teams would have had their best player. Because you take their best player, they're not like Boston. They don't have the depth. So you take their best player.
Right. And they were in every game. Trey saying that they had enough firepower to keep up with Boston. Look, they were competitive in those games late into the fourth quarter of every game. And again, they didn't have Halliburton for the last 2 games. So again, they were competitive. But again, not enough to overcome it. And no one here picked Indiana to win. I didn't certainly pick Indiana to win that series. I don't think anybody in here did.
Because I know their defense, but I knew their offense had a chance to beat anybody.
They were like the one. I think they were the 1 and 2 offenses in the NBA. I think this past year. So
and you saw they play at a fast pace, but at the end of the game, you kind of like, hey, you need to slow down just a little bit because you saw that's how they lost game 1 because Halliburton dribbled the ball off his leg. And
it was just slop. That was just.
Yeah.
It was sloppy playing both sides. The Celtics had turnovers. Tatum had turnovers and whatnot. Like I said, we needed a double clutch 3-pointer from the corner by Brown to put the game in overtime. Otherwise, we should have lost that game. So again, so definitely, I think it was a much more competitive series than the stat line showed. But again, they just sort of ran out of gas before the Celtics did. But in any event, yeah. So we covered the. I think we talked about the Celtics. We just talked about Kyrie. Anything else to say about the Minnesota series? Again, they were able to scratch out a game. I don't know what's going to happen in the next, but it just seemed to me that they're just barely hanging on. They don't have the snuff. If they can beat Dallas by 20. That might give me a glimmer of hope that they can possibly do something, in the series, at least get it to 6 games. But they haven't shown me that they can. I mean, Dallas is playing very well, and they almost won this game. They pulled it out. They pulled it out late, but I'm a little bit surprised. Just overall by what are you guys seeing in Minnesota? Why hasn't Minnesota been able to certainly you figure they have they have size, they have talent players. What do you guys think have been the difference in this series where Dallas has looked so dominant, which I wasn't expecting coming to this series? I thought it would be a lot more competitive than this.
You can go first, Dante.
Well, I'll start with this. Man, the guy we've been giving a lot of love to, Anthony Edwards. I know everyone is going to point at Carl Anthony Towns because that's rightfully so. Yes, he was the number one pick, but starting going into this year, the power was transferred to him, and they said it. You could tell in the interviews, like they're taking the personality of him. But come the credits you got from last series, you got to take the fall this series. You came out and said, "Hey, I'm gonna get Kyrie, shut him down. I'm gonna do this," and it's just kind of like it hasn't hurt work materialized. He hasn't been the scoring hasn't been as efficient as you would like it to be, and it's just he hasn't been able to step up like the Mavericks' best player has been able to step up. We know it's a clear, distinction level. The Mavericks number two is Kyrie. We just got to be singing his praises. He's going to be
Right.
clutch. The greatest big man shooter of all time has been throwing up bricks. So like and then the thing is with Gobert, I don't want to say I know you mentioned it. Who mentioned it in the chat about being fired? Finch. Who mentioned it? He said he could be
I think it was
fired.
Trey. I
I
think it was
don't know.
Trey.
Sure. Yes, right. I wouldn't say he should be fired, but that was malpractice. As soon as I saw that he was, and I want to say they got a video of Jamal Crawford said, "Hey, Luka's gonna step back one leg in the game." As soon as I saw Gobert still on the floor, hey, I know you're paying him this money. I know he's defensive player of the year, but there's times you got to swallow your pride. Whether it's Nas Reed out there, so you're playing smaller, maybe they won't go to pick and roll. Whatever you have to do to not get that matchup, or if he's going to play, you have to immediately trap and then rotate and hope it doesn't get to Kyrie and they don't make the shot. You cannot let that happen. That's one of
Mm.
the biggest things is just the coaching mismatch of kid, having the failures in Milwaukee, the coaching in Brooklyn, or was it New Jersey? I'm not sure which one they were. I think they were Brooklyn at the time. Coaching there, and then now here with the Mavericks, I'm assistant with the Lakers when they won the championship. That experience and him being and then just being a Hall of Fame player himself, he's been able to just you can tell the coaching advantage to them. I don't know if it's anything with Finch's injury, he's still on the sidelines, but it's not sharp enough. When you get to this level, it has to be sharp. Saw it last year with the Lakers. Darvin Ham, great the first couple series. Went up against Mike Malone, wasn't sharp enough. Just that adjustment there. Taking that guy out, not calling that timeout. Those things have really hurt the Timberwolves. And I
Mm.
want to say
Right.
you wasted a game when Nas Reed just went crazy, just crazy shooting. When you get that much help, when you get Jaden McDaniels just super crazy hot in game one, when you get that, your big dogs gotta lead you at the end of the way. Your top guys have to do that. They haven't done it. And like when the Mavericks get those games from PJ Washington and Derek Lively, a young guy, when they get that and those nip and took, got help out here. When you get that happen, you got to take advantage, and the Mavericks have. That's where they're up 3-1. Probably I probably think they can win Game 5. I know, Chris. You said they're gonna come back for 6. I don't know. It's gonna be tough, but I'm still
They
I'm
got to
still
show.
thinking
They got to show me something in this next game. I mean, for real. I mean, they make some adjustments for sure. I mean, those are definitely going to be needed there. But I just they're just barely hanging on. It's almost like they don't belong there. It's like I said, especially coming out of the Denver series, I thought they would put up a much bigger fight than this.
as
I,
good as Denver is, and to
what,
beat them, I'm surprised to be down 3-1. That's surprising to me.
Yeah.
what was that game four? I think they won game four because Kyrie didn't have a good shooting night. And
Hmm.
basically, Minnesota's defense has did a pretty good job on the role players, but
Right.
they can't. Which is what we were saying last week. They have a if the way Dallas has a chance versus them if the big two is basically Dallas big two has been outperforming Minnesota's big two.
Right.
Minnesota's big two has been performing all postseason until they came with Dallas, and as we were saying, since Dallas made this trade, their defense forget what you saw in the early in the season.
Yeah,
It's a dramatic difference. They towards the top in the NBA. They were towards the bottom.
last
They went
15
towards the
games they were
top.
number one. Last 15 games, they
So
was the number one.
because they because it was a meme going around social media. They was actually looking at Kyle Kuzma. They was trying to trade for him, but he declined.
Right.
So then that's when they got PJ Washington. They end up getting. It turned out getting players that actually fit. PJ Washington. I think Derrick Jones was a part of the trade. I don't know if he was there already
No,
or
Derrick
not.
Jones is already there.
Yeah, and then PJ Washington, and who's the and Gafford, who's been
Yeah,
huge. He's the main reason. And I'm looking at Trey. He basically 2020 hindsight all over the place over here because he basically the stuff we already mentioned last week. I guess he wanted to say he
yeah,
said I told you so. He got that real strong going on right now. But even with the Minnesota's defense, there's no defense out there that could stop when they're on the big two of Dallas. That was the
mm-hmm.
main reason people was giving Dallas a chance.
Mm.
So that's basically been the main thing Dallas has been winning the game. But Gafford, you talking about, he been controlling the paint. I've seen people mention about attacking Luka. Well, the only person they really have attack Luka is Edwards.
Yeah.
Edwards wanted to take the
You gotta play
challenge,
both ways.
especially when he
Yeah,
was hot.
that's
Edwards
right.
wanted to take the challenge of guarding Kyrie. Now you wasting all your energy, literally, especially how Kyrie came out in game one. You wasting all your energy, and that's why before game four, all first three games, Edwards was gassed in the fourth quarter. But because his offense, he was able to do some offense, and again, Kyrie had an off night. So that allowed Edwards to kind of, okay, let me use some more energy on offense. Because if Kyrie had an on night, he probably would have been struggling again in the
Yeah,
fourth quarter as well. And then,
right.
of course,
Series be over.
Towns' shot was finally falling in game four. But yeah, that's the main thing. Minnesota's defense, they definitely not playing like they were against. Well, they did better versus Denver Big Two, who many will believe that may be potentially better than the Mavericks Big Two in the playoffs. Because Murray, and I know people talking about playoff Jimmy, there's a playoff Murray, but they did a real good job of containing him and the Joker. Even though
Yeah,
Joker had his games, but he wasn't Joker in some of them games too. But because Dallas and both of them are perimeter players, they having issues with that because really the only person, I mean,
Mm.
McDaniels, he's not looked upon on the offensive end to
Yeah,
really. That's Edwards, but Edwards, you want to hold a dude like Kyrie or hell, even Luca at times. It's you overworking yourself.
yeah.
So
You overwork them.
that's basically they probably Minnesota probably this series probably making them see that we need like how Dallas was with just it was just Luca, and they finally say, man, we need another ball handler to score. That's what
Yeah.
they made the lose. Minnesota, I believe, Conley is a good PG just to settle the team down,
hmm,
but they need another score. 'Cause right
yeah,
now they putting Towns, he's too inconsistent.
Too
I
inconsistent.
Yeah, but they need another perimeter scorer who can handle the ball. Cause right now they depend way too much on Edwards to do that perimeter work for them. And that reminds me exactly how Dallas was when it was just Luca. And now they got Luca and Kyrie. So you literally see Luca and Kyrie just take turns on, controlling the offense. And then when Kyrie is on, they get a ball to Kyrie. When Luca's on, Minnesota don't have that. I guess right
yeah,
now it's supposed to be Towns, but Gafford, he d'ing them up.
yeah,
And I think one last thing, hopefully he can play in game five. Cause that was a hell of a knee he took in the
Yeah.
head. But
mm,
Lively, I think that
yeah,
was
yeah,
huge when they lost him for game four. I hope he can
yeah.
play in game five because
He
yeah,
brings a
that
lot of energy, and he was great in
yeah,
that closeout game against OKC. I mean, he was on the boards. I mean, he was
that
doing
was damn
a
the
lot of good work. Yeah,
what's his name? Knees. I mean, Towns, he need two dudes trying to go up. He need Gafford in the nuts one time. He need somebody else a second time, and then he finally need a Lively in the back of the head. I'm like, damn, that's your knees need to be confiscated.
mm.
Man, I see what you said, Trey. You said I know you don't I don't have to go watch the tape. I did say defense travels. And my thing is, I picked the wrong team, but you can't say that the defense that the Mavericks is playing, like you said, at the end of the year, the last 15 games, the number one defense, and Owen surprised they're getting ready to head to the finals. Defense plays a huge part in it. Yeah, you have to get buckets, but I don't know. I know how I was taught the game of basketball. There's days your shot is not going to fall, but if you can give me something on defense, you're going to be able to be in the game. And this series is showing. I've watched a lot of different content on the way basketball is played now. Look at these playoffs, and you see that guy that can give you a bucket, but he's a hole on defense. Unless you're a Luka Doncic type good, you are not going to be able to stay on the floor. Like when they put Kyle Anderson on the floor, it's 4-on-5. You know, there's certain guys where they just like, we're going to completely ignore this guy and focus on everyone else. So there is, I'll give you a credit. You are right on that. If you are not a balanced basketball player in the finals and in the playoffs, they're going to exploit that. Like, who is it that got exploited for OKC? Giddey. Giddey could not shoot. I was reading an article that he could not shoot, and they were like, hey, these guys, that's a team that needs to go get Klay Thompson. You know, get a known shooter, play a little defense, so you can keep that spread free flowing offense. So I give you a price rate. Like hey, the Mavericks are doing that thing, but I agree to disagree. It takes both, but defense definitely does travel. The Mavericks also, or I want to say they're the best road team in the playoffs. They just won 2 games in the Western Conference Finals.
It's a completely different team after that trade.
So
after the trade,
so
it's
it's
a
like,
completely different Mavericks team.
To be honest, we both right. So give yourself a pat on the back. I give myself mine.
He holding you to it, man. He don't let you get off it, man. So. Trey used to be a cop. Trey used to be a cop, man. So he be taking them notes down, man. He don't miss nothing. You got notes, man. You got the. He's like, I'm writing this down.
Selective memory notes going on over there.
All right, fellas. Yeah. So again, Game 5 tomorrow night. Who y'all got? Just coming out. You think can Minnesota get another game? Get it to a Game 6? Who you got?
I got Dallas.
You got Dallas. Sweet. Close it out, gentlemen. Sweet. Who you got, Dante?
I think Dallas will go ahead and close it out.
Close it out. Close it out. I'll be the contrarian. I'll pick Minnesota. Get one more game in just to make it a little interesting. Give myself a couple more days rest. Hopefully, poor Dingus can go back. He's got video too. He's got surveillance. You don't have video. You have surveillance. Trey has surveillance. But let's switch gears a little bit to a totally different topic. Talking about MLB. Yes, absolutely. Talking about so today, I believe a decision has been made. First of all, do you guys want to talk about the NCAA first? Because I know you guys are talking about that earlier. If you guys want to break it up,
Dante, he can break that down.
Yeah, why don't you break that down? Let's go there first, and then we'll close out with the MLB stuff.
Right. So basically, to set it up like this, with everything going on with the can of Pandora's box that was open with name, image, and likeness, there's been a lot of lawsuits going on to the NCAA, and if they wanted to stay around and not have to go through discovery and go through all those cases, they had to go ahead and settle this lawsuit that they had, and so that they wouldn't just get a gang of other lawsuits. It was I want to say about it was over $2 billion settlement that's going to be paid out over 10 years to current and former players. I want to say they cut the point at 2016. This is the early stages of it.
You say $2 billion, or is it 20 billion?
Was it 20?
I think it's
I gotta get I saw 2.8 billion settlement over the antitrust. Which whenever you hear antitrust, businesses shake and it gets kind of nervous because if they have to go into those books and looking at everything, it's gonna get nasty.
That's still a bargain. If it's antitrust, you come out with 2.8 billion. That's a steal still.
Yeah, and it just lets you know how much was there. If they settled for 2.8, there was a lot more money on the table. And so, and this put a lot of things in jeopardy. Like we finally get NCAA football back because of name, image, and likeness, and them having to pay the players. Now I still don't like. I want to say they gave them all $600 and a copy of the game. Still kind of on the low side for what they're going to make, but it's kind of like you can't win them all. But in this case, this settlement basically says that the schools can legally, because we know it's been under the table for a long time.
Right.
The bag men, I don't know what the bag men are going to do. They're going to have to do something else because all the money is over the table now. And so now it's kind of like it could be more regulated. So we hope it may end up being what they're saying is the Power 5 conferences just kind of, they make their own rules. They set the table. They work with the TV partners. And the smaller colleges kind of have to just kind of patch it up and figure it out. But the biggest thing to me is, and me and Mr. Bennett were talking about before the show, if you're doing this settlement and it's like you're directly paying someone, why are you directly paying them? They're probably an employee. Your business, this is an employee. And, I want to say I want to say around the 2010s or 2015, I can't remember the exact year, but Northwestern University, their players were trying to unionize. And I
Yeah,
want to say
remember
the
that.
judge
Yep.
shot them down. And now it's kind of looking like a lot of this is the next step. And I know somebody, Kashani is in my Facebook group, and he said, "Hey, let's break this down on the show today." And someone else was like, "Man, this is like the NFL," and I was just like, "Man, it's been trending that way. Like you can't say that this coach is making $6 million with a shoe deal and a weekly shot show that they're paying him for, and what was it, Nick Saban in commercials." You can't say that this is a business, but this is amateur athletics. There's nothing amateur about the billions that they make, the deal that they're about to cut with ESPN. There's nothing
Right.
amateur about that. And like I listened to an old college player that's like, hey, colleges are running full speed live practices. Those guys' heads are getting cracked and they're getting bungled up. Yeah, you're seeing that guy that's jerseys in there. You're seeing Jaden Daniels, the Heisman winner. But those guys, those scout team guys, and in some cases, this scout team guy's going to end up being his name on the jersey and him being in the NFL. So these guys deserve to get this money and get compensated. I pray that the players can come together, come up and have a voice. I was hearing Jay Williams from ESPN say they still don't have a voice. They need one unionized voice. They need someone to speak for them so they can, get second medical opinions and not have injuries that they're rushed through and ends up derailing their career as a 4 or 5 star guy. And now they're stuck. So I'm excited about it, but I still want to push to make sure that everything is right and taken care of the players.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
I
summary.
think that whole, I think I brought it up several weeks ago. One thing that highlighted was that whole Johnny Manziel when he was in his peak with A&M, and he caught it one time when he wore number 2, and NCAA on their website had the Texas A&M number 2. Now, of course, they didn't have his name on there, but this was Manziel Johnny Mania, whatever it was calling it back then. Took college football by storm, and they had his jersey on the website, and he did not see a penny of it. And then when he made them aware about it, they took it off. Because they was like, "What's up, Trey?" They was like, I guess now why you monetizing obviously off of my fame right now, my popularity, because they was making a killing off of them jerseys alone. When
Right.
he spoke up, he saw them immediately took it off the website. So
Yeah.
that was definitely one of the things. So I think I heard something where they gonna, I don't know how many players, but they are gonna back pay some players from the past. So it's when you think of like I guess you could say more corrupted organizations, especially in sports. There's Olympic. There's nobody more corrupt than the Olympic Committee. You
No
talking
lie.
about agree? They on a different level. They're on a different level. But as far as within the U.S.,
But
I
wait,
believe the
there's one more.
NCAA is the highest in this country.
FIFA. FIFA's really bad.
FIFA
I want to say,
worldwide, but I think Olympic. I think Olympic
yeah,
maybe. I think they may got FIFA. I think they may got FIFA.
what they did. I just heard what they did with getting that World Cup in Qatar. It was kind of like this does people dying. It was this.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
looked into it. I was like, I'm not the big
Them
soccer
boys
guy.
on a different level
They,
with us.
Yeah.
they had a different level of corruption.
Yeah.
Well, Trey,
Yeah, man. Definitely. It's good, Trey Ferg. How you doing?
bro.
Oh man, I'm all right. How about y'all fellas? Just been a busy day for me. So
Nah, I feel you, man. I feel you. So guys, so what do you think? So you got NIL, you got the portal, and now you have this decision. What do you think then is going to be the future look of NCAA? Is it just going to be more constant? Because I think that, as happy as I am that players should get compensated, again, the fact that you got these Power Fives and the TV deals seem like they're going to be the ones who are going to be running things. It's like, is it going to hurt, I guess, competitive balance, or are we just going to be seeing these big five schools or whatever just getting all the talent and whatnot? Is it going to get worse? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be more equitable for players across the board, not just for the Heisman level elite players? What do you see the future of all this? What's the game going to look like in a couple years?
Well, to me, I believe there should be order in stuff. You got to have some type of order. I'm glad that the players will get paid or whatnot, but what you don't want to have is this damn free for all.
Mm-hmm.
Because you already seeing one, who's a Florida State player, whatever this crazy NIL story going on from a student in Florida, and it's just they're young, they're super young. I mean, you already young if you make it to the pro level, get access to millions of dollars. Now you literally talking about dudes who's coming straight out of high school, and they get you get these NIL dudes write up these contracts. You don't know what they could be putting and just putting them dudes in a hole. But they so young and ignorant, they basically just now step into the outside world, and dudes just setting them up for failure right there as soon as they take a step out the front door. So you hope that there's some type of standardization or something that can just help, you know, these athletes coming when they get these opportunities with NIL, NCAA. I feel like that may be a little bit more have better structure because coming from the NCAA, at least some type of organization. Now, I don't know how much they're going to give these players. I don't even think it's NCAA. I think it's more the university who's going to be paying these students.
Yeah, it's the universities being able to directly pay the
So
players.
they'll be able to, based on the university, I think they'll be able to better handle, keep better, whoever they get the money to, it'll be better recorded on their books. NILs are really what a free for all that because it could be coming from anybody.
Yeah, and that was, I think the NIL was a way of them to scapegoat from doing this, but they had to do it. And this is, maybe it was just slowing it down or delaying it because part of the settlement of percentages is going to come from the NCAA, the 2.8 billion. It's going to come from the Division I schools. It's going to come from the conferences. So it's going to come from all parts. Are going to be paying. But I guarantee you, what's going to happen is what's something that we talked about during bowl season. All these opt-outs. I guarantee you, if you're getting money directly from the school, it's going to be in a contract because they are employees. Hey, you have to play. Your season ends when the bowl season ends. If you do not have an injury, you need to play in the game. And and that's going to come to make sure that the TV partners are satisfied. Because I know some of these games are laughers, absolute laughers, to where it's just like, man, there's 17 guys not playing. They're hitting the portal.
And that's
going to be things in top of the portal. They're going to try to get back to. They're going to use the money to get the control back. And they may not go back to the days of the 80s where you can stack up 5 stars everywhere and you got to wait 2.5 years. But it's going to be, hey, man, we're paying you. You need to come out here and play. It's going to be a real NFL.
Right. Trey Ferg, what are your thoughts on the matter? What do you think the future of the NCAA college sports? Better deals for the players, or is it just going to be more concentration of talent at a smaller number of schools? What do you see the future, given the decision today, the NIL, and all the portal and all the things that are happening right now? Is this good overall for the quality of the product?
I mean, I think it's good for the quality of the product. I also believe that, treat it like the military pay. Give everybody $1,500 a month, regardless of the school. You can't live off $1,500 a month. You need to get some financial literacy classes. You're getting a free education. You're getting a $70,000 scholarship. And you should be required to maintain at least a C+ average. If your grades drop below average, then you don't get paid for that month because that means you're not eligible to play. I mean, you have to have some regulations. And the top 5 school, the Power 5, yeah. But they only, excuse me, what's up? They only have so many.
Yeah.
Dog heard somebody.
Yeah, but it seems like I think they need to get maybe some help from the professionals. I mean, they like you said, the players right now, they don't have a voice. I don't think they need someone to really go in and try to negotiate a structure. They need a structure at the level at the NCAA level, getting these guys in a room and work out, like you said, whether it be contract based with terms and conditions on it, or whatever that is, have a minimum floor for every player, regardless if you're an athlete, whether you're a scholar athlete or not. They need to iron out some of these terms, but I think they need a professional person who's used to doing that from like the professional sports leagues like MLB or the NFL to help to broker some of these deals, because it's also not just for the football. I'm assuming this has to be across the board. So all collegiate sports, all D1 collegiate sports, whether athletics, I think the same rules are going to apply. I don't think it just matter for the football. So again, are the schools, are the presidents of universities willing to get into, get an arbiter of some kind who can flesh out some kind of deal that both sides can agree to. I say, I wish you could go back in time. Who's the guy back in '74 who I forget who negotiated for the MLB players? I forget the guy's name, but he's like an historic figure in baseball who helped bring free agency to baseball. Like somebody of that letter, someone a legal mind, and somebody who's really going to be able to, flesh out some things that gets these sides talking. Because I still think there's going to be future battles coming up, but I think someone's going to have to get in there and work something out. Yeah, but even if you get a union, again, who your rep's going to be. I think they need to borrow from, again, the professional leagues, get somebody in there that these players can go to and trust. Like, yeah, we want this person to be the head of our union. But typically, union leadership is oftentimes made up of, it can't be the players. It can't. So you're gonna need some grown-ups who really understand law, particular law in this manner, and somebody who's really going to, that both sides are going to agree to work with. Again, even if it's it's an alumni can be reps possibly, but that alumni again a very highly respected alumni that people can get behind. But yeah, they need to work out something. Trey,
they gotta do something, because I think about that guy, Javon Dexter. I want to say he had an NIL deal, and it basically was a payday loan. And it was just like he's got all these fees and stuff. He's he's getting sued. They need somebody, like you said, they need somebody to protect the players. So they, like you said, they're 18, 19, and these sharks are circling, ready to set them up. So it's just like, yeah, NIL is cool, it's fun, you can pay directly. They got to make sure that the bad agents are coming in there and getting money from them. So they got to get this set up the right way. So these guys, that only get one shot at this. You get 4 years to come play here, and you may not go to the league. Some guys need to pocket this money and then start their next career, and hopefully get their education,
right,
and be able to have a productive life, and not just look back with regret and because you got done wrong, you got ripped off.
Yeah, facts. Trey Farragon, I got cut off. You want to chime back in? Your thoughts on the way forward here?
I think all athletes coming in, they should be required as freshmen. They should be required to take a financial literacy class so they can understand how to manage their money. I think it'll be good for them regardless of their major. Just take a class, whether it's over the summer. At some point, you should be required to take that class, preferably as a freshman, so you can really start looking at things as you get towards your sophomore and junior year, especially if you're ready to go to the NFL. You have some idea of how to manage your money instead of just going out buying the same shit everybody else do. They end up broke after they get out of NFL. I know this is off topic, but hell, Antonio Brown just filed for bankruptcy, so he's only been out of league 2 years, 3 years. So guys got to just understand that money. They want to get it to just buy shit. So all they're doing is buying clothes and shit. Pretty much it. But think about if you can get that a few years, couple $1,000s a month, you got a full scholarship, save your money a little bit, because they still get little perks and stuff. They still local heroes, and some of them make commercials and stuff within the community. So just ways that they manage their money. They just have to be taught.
Right. And that 1,500, you're talking about like a floor, because I mean, clearly the top players are going to be getting a lot more than 1,500.
Yeah, the top players, but
Right,
shit.
but I'm saying so you're saying the floor for every, so if you're a D1 athlete at Division 1 at any major any one of these schools, $1,500 should be the floor, whether you get playing time or not. The fact that you're on the team or whatever, or if you're a scholared athlete, that 1,500 should be the floor for everybody, and then you build up through your NIL and all that stuff from there.
Yeah, because when I was in school, shit, they was giving me at least $300 or $400 a month. They was just, you go pick it up in the envelope, like, here you go. Shit, that shit was like, I mean, times are different, but you got to count inflation. So shit, if you can't manage, what you got your school paid for, what else you need money for? Everything else is free. What you trying to do? Go out, shop, buy bullshit. That's all they doing. Save your money. Shit, $1,500 a month for 3 years. That's a nice little piece of change. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think they should be just because I'm thinking about all the athletes that are under scholarship
that's what I'm
in
about to
this
say,
school.
yeah.
Every athlete, the bowling team athletes, the fucking everybody.
That's a lot of people.
Not just
Cricket
everybody.
team,
All
right?
the teams they getting sacrificed because the football teams, the main ones who are making the athletic department move all these conferences and stuff. So, like for example, USC joining the Big Ten. That's all because of football. Well, now bowling, who they just used to playing Pac-12 schools and got to travel like that. Now they have to fly cross country for their bowling events and stuff like that, and they don't get the type of money that football do. So that 1,500, there's a lot of unless
It's only
universities start cutting down on some of the athletic programs. There's a lot of programs, especially them bigger universities. I think they'll be able to afford 1,500 per athlete.
Well, that's the thing. Now, will this result in cuts, you think, to some of these sports like the bowling teams or the dart team or whatever
I think
whatever the level is?
Schools, Power 5 schools will be able to afford them. Power 5 schools. Now, and I'm talking about just the main Power 5, but like the borderline schools, like in this case, like hell, I didn't even say TCU.
Right.
Because I don't even know if they'll be able to.
I think TCU financially. I think they'll teams like them. I think they'll be able to survive because they are a Power 5 school. I'm thinking more so the schools that just move up to the FBS level. Schools like that just moving up to the FBS level. Those teams, South Florida, been there. Or I can't think of the name of that school. I don't want to say it's one of those Georgia schools, like Georgia State or something. They were moving up the ranks from FCS and the FBS side because there's money involved in it. But I think for the most part, things are going to stay exactly the same. It's just a few power players because it's still going to depend on the boosters. And I heard this from Bomani Jones, and he was mentioning it. And he said this, hey, man, when you look at it, it's capitalistic society. And if you got, you're going to need to pay these bills, you're going to get outside entities, and you're going to look up, and you're going to see, hey, the new president of, USC or this school that's an old hedge fund manager. That's not an academic person because it's going to be about money. So you're going to go to outside sources to make sure that the money stays afloat. And the boosters are going to they're going to get in a back room on a golf course behind closed doors. They're going to make plans. Then they're going to come and present that. And I think, they always have power donating money. They're going to find the money. The big programs, some of them will consolidate, but it is a tough issue because all athletes should be making sure they have an opportunity to play at a collegiate level, get their education paid for. But I think it's going to come down to the revenue sports. Basketball and football are the only sports that are really revenue because you got the NCAA tournament that basketball brings in the cash cow, and the big high end Division I teams bring in the cash cow on TV money and ticket sales, and then football is the cash cow king. So I think because with them, all the other money flows. So I think the other sports may not get the scholarships. They might, they're going to get the scholarships, but they might get the direct payment just because, hey, they're paying and putting this bill, making sure that they can travel. And that's where it gets tricky. And it's time for the important, smart people of academia and sports to come together and obviously say, I'm with you, getting someone to be a true arbiter to make
Yeah.
sure, hey, this isn't fair. This is, somebody's
Yeah, but
supposed to
again,
be
picking that person's that's going to be key. Because and honestly, I think just like with athletes and unions and whatnot versus owners, it seems like the owners seem to be a lot more unified, or the heads of these schools seem to be a lot more unified when it comes to these negotiations. So again, who the players pick to represent them, as well as who would be a possible arbiter to that, that's going to be huge for this. But the heads of these organizations, they seem to be a lot more in sync when it comes to the bottom line. So hopefully they can find someone to do that. But with that, I guess we can move on to the last topic of the night. Again, so talking about Major League Baseball. So again, decision was made earlier to allow the Negro League stats to be basically included in the MLB stats. So no more asterisk on Negro League players. So again, Josh Gibson has been elevated to have like the all-time batting average, and there's a whole bunch of stats and WAR stats and things that he's definitely taken on, and certainly has gotten, I think, overall a decent amount of praise, certainly from the Negro League Hall of Fame and those who've been lobbying and advocating for this over time. I still have some reservations about it to the extent that it seems to be somewhat of a placation still. Because again, for a lot of those players who never got credit, they never got financials. So just to have their records there, it's almost like it feels like it's just a move by MLB just to let's just add the stats, and then so we can just close this chapter. They just want to sort of move on from it. But it's difficult when you're talking about the greatest players of all time, and the greatest players of all time really never played against each other. Especially in those, from 1920 to 1948 when the Negro Leagues was open, the discussion was, Ruth and those guys, whatever. And those guys, the Negro League players were sort of mentioned. But again, we never got those guys to go to head. When they did MLB, I think in 2006, they did a top 100 players of all time. And I think a lot of those Negro League players weren't on it. So, I don't know how this necessarily undoes it. Again, I'm not totally against it, but it still feels a little bit like it's somewhat like placating to an extent. Just my initial vibe. I need to look into a little bit more. But what do you guys think about that? Trey, let me start with you on that. How do you feel about MLB making this move, and what do you think that's going to do again going forward for the legacies of those Negro League players? And their families going forward.
I mean, I think it's a good move to sort of at least recognize those players and those accomplishments, because I think that they made a huge, tremendous impact on just young African-American players wanting to play baseball, even until today. Some of the greatest players were African-American, and they understood the dynamics of keeping them shut out in those times that they were, because, you saw Josh Gibson, played Major League, was still hitting home runs. Satchel Paige, shit, he was down there 40 years old when he was throwing strikes over the plate. He had unique pitches, and it just goes to show that, it's long overdue, I think, but also just like the NIL, hell, backdate some of these families. Get some of that compensation, because that's what it's about. Shit, we can get all the stats all we want, but shit, is that going to change?
Well, it's ironic you say that, because I know the MLB pension fund was started in 1947.
Ooh, well, yeah.
Just the year that baseball integrated. So for a lot of those players that we're talking about, they're not even eligible for that, because I'm thinking, okay, if you really want to compensate, so again, the legacies of those families, if you wanted to give them some sort of reparation for that effort, but the fund came in 47, and you had to get put in 10 years before you got paid anything. And I think I think it's currently $7,500 a month. I think it's the pension currently. I don't know what it was back then. But so again, how many of those Negro League players could benefit? It's not, and it's not retroactive, so it's like this still feels more symbolic then that's something that's really going to move the needle. And you're still going to have to tell that story about the Negro Leagues. You can't just say, hey, we're just one unified baseball, so we don't have to talk about it. And that's one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is, will the history of the Negro Leagues get sort of washed out over time that you sort of brought them in? Is it, again, we always talk about did integration help black people or not? That's always a story that people we kind of run with. I don't know. So again, Shawnee, why don't you take it? What do you think about this move?
Well, I know they said this whole thing came about during the whole George Floyd thing. That's when MLB started having meetings about figuring out how to figure out a way to start merging these stats together, these records together, and whatnot. Because I'm curious, are the records, because this is basically a merger between MLB and Negro League with their stats
Yeah.
together. So because both other sports, the two other big American sports, football and basketball, they have their own respective mergers. Were the record books merged as well with the NFL when the AFL and the NFL came together? I don't think they
I
were.
don't think so. I think I know basketball. I know there's still
ABA and NBA. I
ABA
don't think.
stats. I don't know if all those stats apply. We know that I think with the NFL, I think a lot of those I don't know if the AFL
I don't think
records, 'cause especially back in the day, because AFL was like a passing league. So you had like all those guys, the Chargers and the Chiefs and whatnot. They were just gunslinging. The Raiders, they were just gunslinging. So I don't know if the the records in the AFL
I don't remember.
from 1960 to 69, I don't know if those count towards the records of the players that played after the NFL merger. I would have to do a little more research on that, or over time. But yeah, I mean, those kind of questions again. What?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
but this is big. This shows how big it is for baseball because the other two major sports in this country, they also had their sitting. I don't want to say seven different
merged
leagues, but
from what I'm
two
seeing
different
here.
leagues, and they did not merge their stats. So I, at one hand, I'm happy that the Negro League stats were merged to the MLB, but it just feels different. Uh, yeah, like I said, it just feels like it does feel like a placated move. It just
Yeah. Well, I can answer the ABA. No, ABA. I know they haven't been. Yeah, neither settlement itself following years have provided ABA stats to be officially recognized and integrated into the NBA canon. So no, ABA, they haven't done that. I'd have to check on the AFL.
yeah. Now,
AFL, I
one
seen
thing
it when
this
they
did do
merged
though,
with the
it's a
NBA
lot of
versus.
pissed off people on them social media websites though.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
they're
they
really
pissed
upset.
off, and you can kind of guess. You can kind of guess the crowd that's pissed off.
A Facebook friend of mine said, he said a lot of them got those black sunglasses on. If you know what that means. He probably got that American flag in the back. I don't know
y'all,
what it is about
y'all
that
seen
combo.
that? Y'all seen that 42 movie about Jackie Robinson and that one
Yeah.
scene when Jackie and the opposing manager
Yeah.
yeah, that right now, I guess Jackie Robinson. That's the Negro Leagues. He represents Negro Leagues, and the other crowd on social media. That's that opposing manager who's throwing all these race stuff and all this stuff at him,
Right.
coming directly on the field. And that's when I forgot the player, the white player who then came. I think that same game whatnot and put his arm around Jackie to show unification and all that stuff.
Yeah. 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 So I mean, it's going to be Oh, Dante, what are your overall thoughts on the matter? I don't know if we got your.
You know what? Part of me, just because of the recognition I'm excited about, I'm happy about it. But at the same time, I can critique it still and feel like I was going to say that, Shani. I felt like this is a reaction that had been coming from the rallies and the racial injustice things and the uncomfortable times we had during COVID when everything was going on. I was in the rally. And it's just all those things about, hey, racially, we're unpacking. Hey, this was done wrong. This was done wrong. And so they're trying to find a way to satisfy people, also to pacify. I can't not be honest about that to a degree. Some people would just be happy with this, but it's the thing that, hey, the pension, they can't get that. There's more things that need to be done, but this is the start, like you said, about recognizing the stats. And I know that everyone in those comments, I'll say this to them because these are my final thoughts. This is what I wanted to talk about. You can't sit here and say, hey, you wasn't there about the channel level. Somebody said, hey, I hit 600 when I was in this league and this. I want to be in the Hall of Fame and all these type of things. And it's like, all you guys saying that you were not there to see these guys' athletic feats and what they did. Only the people that have documented that in the time can tell you what that is. And that's the problem. I always felt that there was an asterisk because the best didn't play. And now at least putting their numbers up against the other great players' numbers, you can have the conversation and what we love to do in sports, which is debate. And it's always going to be what could have been. Because if you hear historians talk about the Negro Leagues and how good of a league it was and how great those players were, they basically said, hey, Jackie Robinson, that wasn't the first round pick for the Negro Leagues. I've heard those different things said. And so I'm glad to see them get the acknowledgement, but I think this is just a step and there's more that we need to go. So, like I just read a post that was like, the NFL did this in 1970 with the mergers. It took Major League Baseball another 75 years or however, what they were, making a quip about it. So there's more room to go, but I'm glad that they are able to acknowledge their athletes.
Yeah. But yeah, and one thing I'm saying, they're still doing a little slippery slope here because so far they're willing to give certain stats to Josh Gibson, for example, right? So I think the all-time batting average, I think he listed at 472. But it's also been speculated he's also, if you really want to bring all the stats in, he arguably easily has the home run record. They said he hit anywhere between 800 and 1,000 homers. But they're saying that's apocryphal. But that in baseball, there's certain records in baseball that are sacred. You know what I mean? So the home run record, if you were going to get, or if you wanted to give the home run record back to Henry Aaron, because he hit some home runs back in the Negro Leagues before he came. So I know Barry passed him with 762 or whatever his final number was. Do you now give the home run record, if you want to include his stats, do you now give those back to Hank Aaron as the all-time home run leader? So again, I think that they're kind of dancing. They want to give him all these stats that no one really cares about, like WAR and WHIP and all these other stats, on base percentage. I mean, that's for the statistician. That's they love those numbers, but for the everyday fan, you want the most home runs, the most strikeouts, the most wins. There's just those Herculean stats. I mean, we all remember the home run chase, the most home runs in the season. So we all remember the steroid era with McGuire and Sosa going for that home run record and whatnot in Bonds. So I think there's. Yeah, so I'm thinking that some of these things that we'll give you on base percentage, we ain't giving you that home run record. So it seems like even then they're kind of fast and loose in terms of which ones they want to take on and which ones they don't.
Yeah, that home run record is baseball's crown jewel. That's why when they had the whole Sammy, McGuire, Griffey was in there for a little bit. It was just so huge, so huge. That's why MLB was marketing off of that, So
yeah,
like you say, it is a slippery slope with, when
if you're gonna bring him in,
I first heard of the Negro League stats getting migrated over. The first person I thought was Josh Gibson and his home runs.
Yeah,
I didn't think of his average.
That's it.
I was thinking his home runs. I'm about to say, okay, this dude about to have a number just astronomical out there.
Yeah, 800, something like over 800 home runs, and that's a record I don't think that will certainly ever be broken. That's just a number. Just it's just untouchable. So yeah. So again, I guess the discussion, whether people want to fight for that or do more research to see How many of those home runs were legit? Are they going to give it to him or not? I don't know. But, but certain numbers, baseball, I think out of all the major sports, that's the one that relies mostly on the stats. Well, the way they treat stats is unlike any other sport. So that'll be an interesting conversation to have. But I think we're certainly near the end of the show. Shawnee, did you have any final thoughts before we close out?
Making him wait for JT, so he's about to start.
All right. Trey Ferg, you good?
Well, just my thing. This is training season for everybody. 99 days to football season. Everybody train in between those days. Get in better shape, eat better, feel better, and be ready for football. Other than that, your ass gonna be fat. So get it in here, fellas. We're gonna get in shape this summer.
Real quick boxing note. Again, this could be certainly the swan song. Some people may already say it already is. Deontay Wilder is fighting Zhao Li Jing over in Saudi Arabia this weekend. So we'll see if this might be his last fight. Based on his last effort, I'm not necessarily picking him to win. But if he does win, if he wins the press, if he knocks Jing out, then he might be certainly back in the mix. And the rematch between Fury and Usyk has been set for December 21st. And the question is whether or not the IBF is then going to strip Usyk of the title. Because like I said earlier in the last show, when they tie up these belts for 1 to 2 years at a time, when these guys have these trilogy matches and whatnot, other guys don't get the opportunity. So we'll see if the IBF is going to stick to its word and strip Usyk or not. And if they do, then the fight will not be for the undisputed championship. We'll just have to see. But yeah, Saudis are paying money to get these get these fighters over. They want to see these fights, and so it's good. Certainly, it's good for the good for the fighters. But we'll see if Deontay Wilder, if his time is finally up and he needs to go back to doing his ayahuasca and just chilling with the rest of his life. But hopefully these guys don't get hurt. And again, as far as Mike Tyson, look, the man just had an incident on the plane, someone with a stomach and whatnot. Again, 57-year-old guy. I don't care how he looks on the mitts. I don't know. He needs to be in there with a 30-year-old guy. So I'm not enthused about this fight. But obviously we'll probably have to talk about it prior to it starting. But again, Mike, hope you're feeling better. But again, when you're 57, anything you can wake up, anything can be hurting at any time. So you don't need to be taking kidney shots at your age. So but I'm sure we'll talk about that as we get closer to fight time. But I think that's all the time we have for tonight. Iron doesn't rust. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But again, great show, guys. Thanks for the combo. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And we'll see you next week on another edition of the One-on-One Sports Show, guys. You guys have a great day. Take care.
Next week.